Welcome everyone to this live stream here, some more random stuff because that is what you signed up for, and thank you very much for that. That is amazing. And yeah, after this daily American business parody on my main channel, let's do some open source stuff because we certainly never can do enough of that. And yesterday I quickly ran Qemui because I have some vintage stuff to test and such. And I wanted to give you some note. Let's see, Spark. So let's run this as a Spark Station 4 with 128 megabyte of RAM and this hard drive image. And this is not the most amazingly fast, but at least it still works. That is already a good thing, of course. And Qemui, for those who don't know, this is of course a quick emulator here, by the way, I hope. But I think we should have enough CPU cycles to run this here. Enter for loading this in Zilo, the Spark Linux loader. And just a little bit, so how do you run this? Of course, just like this. How did I install this? You can install this just fine in Qemui, but I dumped this from the SCSI hard drive from the Spark Station 2 because the Spark Station 2, you might have seen this in the old video of the Spark Station 2, has some regressions besides being removed from the latest Linux kernel. And the regression being even the very latest Linux kernel 2.6 something here. Even that is, by the way, I hope we don't get frame, oh crap, we get frame dropouts due to high CPU load. Anyway, let me know if the audio is okay. So this is 2639, one of the very latest Linux kernels that would run on this kind of Spark. And this is, of course, not here the very fastest, of course, at least it is doing something. The regression being that we get random kernel oops and something corruption. I suspect something MMU related because all the MMUs are very different on the early Sparks, and in the MMU for the Sun 4M, or what this is, Sun 4M, Sun 4C, let's see, proc CPU info something. Yes, this is Sun 4M, but this is Spark, so this is Sun 4C, I guess, maybe the Spark Station 2, because this emulated one is newer. This is Spark Station 4 or 5 or such sort. And among other things, so with this, but I will not show you this, the X server will not work, also not on the real hardware. And ideally, I would want to run this just for the vintage fun of it, and that is also what we are here for and things like this. And I wanted to run this in Qemui because my real Spark silicon there is 40 megahertz. That is, of course, super slow. Not fun to compile something because when we run here GCC, even in this quick emulator should be faster. It shows here 200, so maybe some, but I think this is completely bogus, this BogoMips, because this sounds like this could maybe be like 200 megahertz, but I think this is too slow for that. Maybe in some super simple plain loop or something, because when we compile here some hello world, misc archive hello C here of T2, even this compiles, you see, of course, first loading all this from the hard drive, yeah, some 5 seconds or something. Maybe on the real hardware it was 10 seconds. Actually no, but maybe the first time was of course uncached and everything, all the emulated hard drive access and something. So I think the first time was way slower. I think on real hardware it was at 10 seconds or something. But yeah, it is faster than real hardware, but not amazingly fast. And you will see this when you run here, the configs. This will run forever, although I have run this last night. If this would not be cached, because T2 compiles here configuration programs, even Lua, because earlier, 15 years ago, we had hard-coded C plugins for Bash to accelerate some config stuff, because otherwise this is all shell scripting and was a little bit slow. And later I transformed this for Lua because we extended this a little bit, and I felt this old-fashioned hard-coded C stuff is maybe not the most nice to work with, and we got into Lua. And first actually I thought Lua is stupid and annoying, but it was suggested by others, and later it grew on me, and in the meantime I actually like it so much too. You should also give stuff a try and really dive into it, and even if you don't like it that much in the beginning, later you might find out that it's actually not too bad or maybe even amazing. But what you see here now, so normally this I've run this last night at home, and it took really long, like maybe this, because this is compiling Lua and some the Lua plugin, this compiling, I don't know, 20 files, maybe not even, Horizon compiles this in like tenths of a second or something, just to give you an indication of how fast or slow this is. And I think this run like maybe 30 minutes or something crazy long as this on a Microsoft Surface at home. This is of course a Mac Mini. Also, you see this is not even compiling. This is directly running this Bash and Lua plugin there for our config. And even this runs forever. So much to wanting to run this on vintage hardware, or how fast Qemui is. Although of course Qemui otherwise is completely amazing. But I wanted to say there are some other alternatives to T2, maybe even open embedded or such sorts of that, although I should probably not do advertisement for other alternative open source projects. But I think other projects like Open Embedded, they use Qemui because they don't cross-compile as much, or don't have their cross-compile setup as extensively set up and patched and working as T2. And the problem with this is, meaning that in T2, the cross-compilation, we really cross-compile, cross-compiling, meaning of course you compile for another CPU than we have a Intel Core i7 here, and we compile for Spark, so this is cross-compiling. And usually that is not even, normally this would be super simple, not big of a deal to speak with, but the problem is that so many complex packages, like not even Firefox, but maybe even Qemui, at least back in the days, they were running programs, they would generate tables, even like maybe even Bash is generating, like maybe even a signal table for the names of signals. And this doesn't run when you're cross-compiling. You have Spark output, and of course your Intel Linux will abort and throw in the Bash, or the system call will return unsupported binary format or something of that sort. Certainly this cannot run. And we try in T2 to really natively cross-compile everything. That means patching then the project like Bash or Qemui to really be set up in a way that is not running this executables, maybe compiling a native helper or some sort, whatever means is necessary. By the way, in general, I don't like this. Never do this if you have your own project. Don't run helper stuff. Run it in Perl, Python, SED, GNU.org, everything but freshly compiled binaries. That is just annoying. And there you see, I wanted to make a point, why do we not do this? Open Embedded is running, they are not patching as much and they are not caring as much, and they simply run, they have a complicated setup to run Qemui on these binaries, for example, maybe even on, so everything that would run, they run in Qemui. For example, even package config, if package config, this program for this module information, like include directories and such sort and installed versions, they would run it in Qemui on the native binaries, and you see how fast this is. Unfortunately not. I really wish, I wonder slightly, they always have so much improvement in speed. I really wonder slightly, I mean, it is so amazing that this even works and quite complete with all the system calls, but somehow I wish it would be faster, because you see this really, when I say this was compiling for 30 minutes, I really mean it. I didn't make it up. In the meantime, live stream nearly 10 minutes. How long this configure is running here. But by the way, this will succeed. This will not, at least last night, it succeeded and did not error out. But with this kind of speed, I don't even want to compile here Pixman or the X server or some drivers, because as you see, this runs sort of forever. And this is just the config that otherwise just takes a couple of seconds to run here, all the parse here, all the 3000. I mean, it's doing a little bit, it's loading in the back, it's loading all the descriptions and generating some tables and running some config logic for all the options, like optimize this and so on, Spark and not Spark, and cross-compile and whatnot. But yeah, just wanted to put out why do I don't even bother. In T2 we have no means whatsoever for running here this native binaries, this cross-compiled binaries, because you see why. Okay, package config and such, they usually don't run so long, but if you compile Firefox, at least, well, it's also a little bit error prone. First of all of this stuff takes forever, and then if something goes wrong, then you were compiling something 40 minutes, and then some Qemui invocation goes wrong. Or as I said, as amazing as Qemui is, I always had something. For example, we did something for some firewall vendor with some was it big Indian arm or something, or some board that I did not had in-house. We had quite some stuff in-house, but not just this. I wanted to run it in Qemu and it didn't work in Qemu. So usually when I need something like alternative, miscellaneous, a little bit esoteric, state-of-the-art or something, it doesn't work anyway. And when it works like this, it runs forever. So yeah, just some indication here, some data points and some guidance. Better get this run without running this in Qemu, because as you see, not the fastest. And I need to find here some other means. I probably maybe could actually stop it now. Yeah, I just wanted to show you this. So it boots, it works. And this also is, by the way, Qemu 4, the latest Qemu that we mentioned in last week's IT news tonight there. And actually, I even had this already committed in this news stream. I wasn't sure if I committed this. I updated the live style, but this was only, I didn't have the latest T2 SVN on just this portable SSD, updated this on the data center. Of course, compiled here. And yeah, just with the speed of compilers, with the recurring theme there, even here on the Core i7 here, by the way, the config came up, however long this took, just for the config. And yeah, you can stop this in the video. So actually it works, surprisingly enough, but we could actually, just for the fun of it, run here some, how long would this here, this is of course forking quite some programs. So Qemu is not that slow, you see, this is forking shells and SED and stuff like this and loading files. So actually, well, it works. It's just not the most snappy, certainly not. I mean, but maybe it should theoretically be faster than a 40 megahertz Spark Station 2, which we also will continue with. But yeah, I did not run. Can we control C? We can DHCP client 0, just for the fun of it. So yeah, you can run SunOS or maybe even some sort of IRIX or other APUX stuff in Qemu. You don't need to buy overpriced eBay hardware. By the way, fun fact, the Seagate, I was shocked. You see this on a Twitter post from me last night, that the Seagate something 4.55 gigabyte. By the way, fun fact, I really wonder that I have a 7200 RPM rotating hard drive in there, but maybe it came with it, no idea. But maybe it came with it. But for me, it's slightly surprising that I wonder if it's an aftermarket upgrade, because I would think that maybe 7200 RPM should be slightly newer than the Spark Station 2 from, what was it, 1991 or something. But there are companies that sell this for as new. I really wonder if they really have new old stock, but they want really a lot of money. 350 euro or some crazy, something like that. But you can check my Twitter for the post of last night. It's of course crazy prices. I mean, who would spend 300 or whatever bucks for a 4.55 gigabyte rotating SCSI hard drive? By the way, it gets mighty hot. Maybe leave me in the comments below, have you experience with putting some oil in there? I wonder if, because it gets super hot, I wonder if the ventilation is enough in this slim case there to cool it down, because at least laying here on the bare desk here with my USB SCSI adapter, it was really super extremely warm. Probably not healthy. Leave me in the comments below if anyone has experience in greasing, dropping there some drop of oil on the bearing or something. And yeah, here you have this was checksum checked, so yeah, your mileage may vary, but of course if you don't run this on an Intel Core i7 but on some more amazing AMD Zen experience there, AMD Ryzen for what it's worth, and it's a little bit snappier obviously. And yeah, but if you are interested in binary emulations, then maybe take a look on Qemu. Would be so amazing if this, yeah, each version is faster, but somehow, yeah, do you see this is just some compiler invocation, or is it actually maybe not? This is actually, maybe these are shell scripts. So you see even generating there's some shell scripts takes some time. So yeah, I really wonder. This is why how much time it takes is also documentation. If you want to get your vintage stuff working better, you think you run it in, you fire up Qemu, you save time running it in Qemu, but then even there it's not the most snappy experience there. So yeah, I hope you learned something and found this data points interesting and stuff like this. But yeah, even documenting this, I know this is not the most amazing episode. But by the way, fun fact that you hear it first, I ordered some state-of-the-art IT stuff here to test more state-of-the-art product review stuff of what you could need on a daily basis here for your IT equipment needs. So more amazing state-of-the-art stuff coming. We are not only stuck with vintage stuff like Spark or Voodoo, although right now it is covered with this lab power supply that I probably could take off the table. This is still standing here. Where's my mouse cursor? By the way, we probably Control-Alt-G grabbed here, and yeah, so this power supply is still from the SCSI hard drive the other day, and otherwise, yeah, Voodoo also so much stuff to do, but also documenting a little bit how much time this takes working on Linux for the vintage machines, and even if you want to speed it up a little bit, then yeah, this is why I cross-compile 100% on the data center or AMD Ryzen or Core i7 or whatever. Basically everything is faster than native or Qemui anyway. But with this, it's time to say have a good night or day. Thanks for watching. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you even enjoy this random updates here of work on vintage stuff and daily IT stuff. This really takes so long. Not making this up. Also, last night I already dumped this. First, I grabbed the wrong adapters. Wonder why this is dumping with 750 kilobytes there per second. And then after I've had this run for 10 minutes and I calculated, damn, this takes 2 hours or 4 hours or something, I switched over to the USB 2 one, and then of course this dumped in, I don't know, 15 minutes or something. But yeah, even with the preparation and then Qemui, and even then so many hours gone and not yet so much achieved here. But oh, damn, wrong, the focus killing here, OBS already. So yeah, not complaining, just documenting this. Just if you have here impressions that everything goes instantly and why are there no results, because yeah, everything takes some time. And yeah, I hope you learned something, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and hope to see you soon for all the next vintage, modern and state-of-the-art and all the stuff in between, and IT parody to come. Not to mention weekly IT news. And 0-drop frames without VPN. Whatever happened to our cable, but maybe that is just lucky coincidence.